Next, the manhunt. After committing the worst mass murder in Maine's history, Robert Card disappeared, prompting what the Lewiston Commission labeled a chaotic response that improved over time. The search took 2 days, but no other lives were lost, and communities were protected. Here again is Phil Hirschkorn.
At 6:54 p.m. on October 25th, Robert Card entered just-in-time recreation and began his rampage. By the time police received the first 911 calls from the bowling alley, Card was gone. 13 minutes later and 4 miles away, the scene repeated at Schmeggy's Bar and Grill. Though police again responded quickly to 911 calls, they were too late to intercept or capture Card. It was now 7:13 p.m. The manhunt was underway. Maine State Police established a command post and soon obtained a major clue: video of the then unknown gunman from a surveillance camera inside the bowling alley. By 8:06 p.m., images were shared with the news media and the public.
This is who police are looking for right now. If you recognize this person or this vehicle here.
Next, police obtained and shared this image of the gunman's 2013 white Subaru wagon from a surveillance camera outside of Schmeggy's. At 8:33 p.m., the city of Lewiston announced a shelter-in-place order. At 9:20, Card's sister, Nikki, called the Lewiston police and identified her brother as the shooter. At 9:33, working with his wireless carrier, police figured out Card's cell phone was in his trailer home in Bowdoin. Police surrounded the residence, but he wasn't there.
Is that the vehicle, the suspect vehicle you guys have in that parking lot?
At 9:56, police in Lisbon, 8 miles from Lewiston, spotted Card's Subaru wagon at the boat launch next to the Sabattis River. At 10:37, a tactical team approached the car and rammed the driver's side door. Card wasn't inside, but the rifle he used in the mass shooting was, loaded with 15 bullets plus 5 spare magazines of ammunition. About 400 law enforcement officers from around Maine were sent or self-deployed to the area. Major Lucas Hare oversees state police operations.
At that point, we had 2 objectives. We need to stop the killing, and we need to find the person responsible for it.
The fact that Card had abandoned his car in a wooded area worried Major Hare.
It immediately made me think that there was a possibility of an ambush.
A fear exacerbated by information received that Card possessed a thermal scope for his guns.
So that gives him the ability, in my layman's terms, to see in the dark.
A New Hampshire State Police helicopter detected a heat signature, so police followed the trail, but it proved to be a dead end.
We had no idea where this suspect was. We didn't know where in the state he was.
Sergeant Greg Roy, the State Police Tactical Team commander, handling 16 teams that night, decided not to deploy a canine team to track Card through the woods. He told the Lewiston Commission helicopter rotor wash and exhaust fumes from idling police cars would have minimized Card's scent.
By the time we were ready to do that, which was around 11 p.m., would have been over 3 hours. In the canine track world, is a very long delay track. And as time goes on, that scent dissipates.
Sergeant Roy also worried a canine track would draw an ambush.
Given the weaponry, given the technology that we at least at this time believe the individual possessed, that would be an unwinnable situation for a canine team to be tracking at night under white light.
This path leads from the Lisbon boat launch to Robert Card's prior employer, Maine Recycling, less than a mile away. Around 2 a.m. on October 26th, a pair of Lisbon police officers who'd heard about that job decided on their own to search the business.
We went into the overflow lot and just searched the open trailers, whatever we could see with a spotlight. We didn't really get out and open closed trailers. It was just really just looking to see if we saw anything suspicious.
Police officer Renee Bernard saw about 30 trailers.
I entered off from Capitol.
Detective Richard St. Amant was driving their unmarked vehicle.
Using the spotlight from the car, illuminating basically underneath and between trailers to the best of our ability to see if there was any movement.
Nothing stood out to give us any indication anybody was there.
It was pretty evident that the trailers that I was approaching were relatively empty. Some of them had some pallets inside.
What was the purpose of this search?
Well, we had no information that he was there. I mean, he could have been anywhere.
They were not well armed or protected. Bernard was carrying only a standard police-issued 9mm pistol. St. Amant was wearing only a bulletproof vest. A third officer with them suggested they stop and consider the risks.
We know Mr. Card had a long gun and military training, potential night scopes, and unknown other armaments that tactically it probably wasn't the best for us to be searching in this manner.
The officers left Main Recycling after 10 minutes.
He told them that since Robbie's car...
According to Card's brother-in-law, James Hurling, Ryan Card was telling police Main Recycling was a place Robert could hide.
Because this was the place he used to work and had issues with.
I've got the impression.
The Lewiston Commission found the suggestion from Ryan Card and the manager of Main Recycling to search its overflow lots was not acted upon.
What did you find happened to that tip that really wasn't paid attention to?
I think that the message regarding the fact that the overflow was part of Main Recycling wasn't conveyed to the people who were doing the search.
If they had listened more clearly, this would have ended search much sooner, preventing from the fear and the chaos our state and loss of business in our community.
By sunrise on October 26th, much of Maine was in a de facto lockdown. Shelter-in-place orders continued for Lewiston and surrounding communities. Dozens of school districts closed, hundreds of businesses, government offices too.
Our reality for today is that this suspect is still at large.
Yes.
More than 900 calls flooded police tip lines with reports of sightings and suspicious sounds.
I think 12 people called in and said he was in Massachusetts.
On the morning of October 27th, Maine State Police began searching the river where Card had abandoned his car.
And today, they're going to be putting divers in the water in the Androscoggin at that boat launch in Lisbon Falls.
He could be in the water, he could be under the water, he could be working with other people. And that was a possibility for a while, that there might be other people involved, until the investigation was able to snuff that out and determine that that wasn't the case.
We want to make sure that we bring this individual to custody. But we got to do it right. We got to do it the safe way. Don't want to see anybody else get hurt, certainly our people and our community members.
48 hours after the mass shooting, at 7:08 p.m. on October 27th, tactical teams began searching trailers in the overflow lot at Main Recycling. 32 minutes later, they found Card in the 55th and final trailer searched, dead from a self-inflicted handgun shot to his head. Another AR-15 style semi-automatic rifle was by his side. So were a combined nearly 300 rounds of ammunition for both guns. We don't know what else the officers who discovered Card's body saw inside the trailer, because most of their observations are redacted, blacked out in their official reports, and no police photographs of the scene have been released. A separate evidence report lists only beef jerky, a bullet, and an earpiece as items recovered. Card was wearing the same clothes he had been seen in when he carried out his mass shooting.
We don't know how long he was in Main Recycling, if he was there the entire time or not.
Did you ever find the night vision scope?
I
Not
believe
you personally, but your officers
Yes, I believe it was recovered at the house. I don't remember where.
at the house?
At the house.
After conducting an autopsy, Maine's chief medical examiner, Dr. Mark Flomenbaum, estimated Card had died 8 to 12 hours before police discovered his body, meaning 36 to 40 hours after his rampage.
And I don't know whether he pulled the trigger after being there for a few seconds or whether he was holed up in the trailer for many, many, many hours. Autopsy is not going to show that. All I could hope to do is give you how long since he died, and that, as you could see, is a very rough estimate.
Flomenbaum told the commission his very rough estimate was based on biological factors like rigor mortis, the stiffening of muscles in a body after death.
All right, so the estimate of 8 to 12 hours because of the observation of rigor mortis, that's subject to a lot of variability. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
So it could have been a number of hours before that 8 to 12 hour window, potentially.
Potentially, yes.
When I recently asked Flomenbaum if it were possible that Card died a day earlier, on October 26th, he told me yes, it's possible. A handwritten note Card had addressed to his son and left on a counter in his home indicates he expected to die. Below the passwords for his phone and bank accounts, he wrote, "Love you and enjoy your life."
And it certainly read, like a note to loved ones that he was never going to see again. Whether he planned on dying at one of those scenes or killing himself later down the road, I can't put myself in his shoes. To be quite frank, none of us can.
Card never returned to his or any friend or relative's home or the family farm. The commission concluded Card's exact movements after the mass shooting have not and likely will never be determined. Police overtime for the manhunt, reimbursed to local departments by the state, cost $3 million.
We wish this thing would have went 4 minutes, right? 49 minutes, not 49 hours. We understand every minute that went by. That's extra trauma on those that are suffering immediately in that community, for our state, and for our first responders. So we wanted to do this thing as fast as possible. And ultimately, to find him deceased with no additional injuries or deaths, I think is a success.